Main events get remembered, champions get photographed, but every wrestling territory, especially Portland, was built on something just as important. The wrestlers who opened the show, anchored the middle, and made the stars look like stars. They didn't always leave with the belt, but without them, there is no main event. And this is the Mid-Card Chronicle, featuring the dependable talents who made every card complete. When Stan Kowalski arrived in Portland in April of 1973, there was already a built-in complication: the name. Killer Kowalski was nationally known, and to avoid confusion, Stan was billed in the Northwest as Crusher Kowalski. It gave him an edge, but it also set expectations. He earned early wins over Jim Gagne and Al Madril, and briefly teamed with Bull Ramos. Of course, that partnership didn't last long. Ramos defeated him in their split match, and Kowalski's momentum never fully materialized. In his final Portland appearance on June 2, 1973, Kowalski teamed with Dutch Savage and Stephen Littlebear to defeat Bull Ramos, Clay Spencer, and Frankie Lane. Then he was gone. At 47 years old, Kowalski was past his physical prime, and Portland in 1973 was a territory that valued movement and pace. No one liked the action wrestlers. Kowalski brought experience, but not necessarily the spark the territory needed at that moment. The speed of his departure tells the story. June 4th, he was working Vancouver. On June 9th, San Francisco. June 14th, Kansas City. And June 18th, he was debuting in Mid-South. He just kept moving. Before Portland, Kowalski had been an AWA World Tag Team Champion with Tiny Mills, a legitimate accomplishment. Kowalski's credentials are real, but in the Northwest, his run lasted barely 2 months. Sometimes a resume doesn't guarantee chemistry. For a brief stretch in 1973, Portland had another Kowalski, just not the one some fans expected. When Skandar Akbar arrived in January of 1972, he wasn't yet the legendary manager he would become. In Portland, he worked as Akbar the Arab, slotted squarely in the mid-card. He picked up wins over Tony Bourne, Beauregard, and Tito Montez. He wrestled to draws with Dutch Savage and Beauregard, and he teamed with Bull Ramos to defeat Lonnie Main and Frankie Lane. He was positioned well enough, not pushed to the moon, but not overlooked either. Then something shifted. From mid-February through June, Akbar rarely appeared in Portland. Instead, he worked full-time in British Columbia. His Northwest run was steady, but unspectacular. It's interesting to look back knowing what he would become. In Texas and Mid-South, Skandar Akbar emerged as one of the most successful and influential managers in professional wrestling history. As a manager, he had heat, presence, and a commanding voice. But in Portland, he was still building. The seeds were there, the character, the confidence, the ability to draw attention. They just hadn't fully bloomed yet. Sometimes you see a wrestler before he becomes something bigger. And in Portland, we had him at that transitional moment. Tor Kamada arrived in January of 1975 at a time when the Northwest was looking for a top heel. He appeared ready to fill that role. He wrestled main events against Dutch Savage and Jimmy Snuka. The opportunity was there, but the victories weren't. His stay lasted roughly 6 weeks. Whether he failed to connect with the Portland audience or simply had better opportunities elsewhere, possibly Puerto Rico, his Northwest tenure was brief. His career, however, stretched far beyond Portland. He started in Hawaii and wrestled for 22 years. He held numerous regional championships, but one accomplishment stands out: an 11-day reign as All Japan's PWF champion. In Stampede Wrestling, he was part of what is considered the first known ladder match, facing Dan Crawford. Earlier in his career, under the name Mr. Moto, he captured the AWA World Tag Team titles with Mitsu Arakawa, and he wrestled in the WWF, even sharing the ring with Bob Backlund. He's reportedly the brother of wrestler Koa Tiki. In Portland, he was a short-term solution to a heel vacancy. In the broader wrestling world, he was part of several first and championship moments. That's often the story of the mid-card. Brief appearances in one territory, longer echoes elsewhere. Avalanche, Paul New, arrived in the Northwest during a period of transition. The Wrestling Observer had noted that he and Super Ninja were headed to Portland. Super Ninja debuted a full month before Avalanche, while Avalanche worked spot shows for roughly 2 months, primarily in Sandy Bar promoted towns. Then the landscape shifted. Lynn Denton, the grappler, took over booking. And on September 19th, 1987, Avalanche made his official Portland wrestling debut by winning a battle royal. It was a statement. He was billed at over 400 pounds, and unlike many wrestlers of that size, he could move. He took bumps that didn't seem possible for someone his weight. For a big man, he had agility. Initially presented as a babyface, the turn to heel came quickly, and it fit. He captured the Northwest Tag Team titles twice, first with Mike Golden and later with Buddy Rose in a team called the Beach Boys. The crowd, never missing an opportunity, greeted them with the chants of whales on the beach. It was classic Portland humor. Avalanche remained in the Northwest for about a year and a half, a significant run for the late era territory. Then came reinvention. In WCW, he became PN News, a rapping gimmick that never quite connected with the audience. But in Europe, under the name Cannonball Grizzly, he found considerable success, winning numerous international championships in Germany and Great Britain. Avalanche represented something unique in Portland history, a late-era monster heel with surprising mobility, a product of a booking transition, and a wrestler whose most lasting success came an ocean away. And yet, for a year and a half, he was a major presence in the Northwest. Sometimes the mid-card isn't just the middle of the show. Sometimes it's a bridge to the next chapter of a career. Not every wrestler becomes a face of a territory. Every territory survives because of the ones who show up night after night and make the card work. The steady hands, the character builders, the glue that held it together. And this has been the Mid-Card Chronicles, because without the middle, there is no main event. This series is based on the Encyclopedia of Portland Wrestlers by historian Mike Rogers. It's available now on Amazon, and new episodes drop every Friday. So be sure to follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and on YouTube. I'm your host, Frank Culbertson, and thanks for joining us here on the Mid-Card Chronicle.